Welcome to Craving the Heat, where desire takes the lead and every story leaves you wanting more. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments and keep up with our latest naughty stories. It was a cold night when everything changed. The kind of night that made you want to stay inside, curled up with someone you trusted. But I didn't trust her, not anymore. Not after what happened, Dodd. It all began a few months ago. Olivia and I had been dating for nearly a year. Our relationship had been a whirlwind, exciting, passionate, and full of promise. At least that's how it felt at the start. She was everything I thought I wanted. Beautiful, intelligent, and fiercely independent. But over time, things began to change. The cracks that were once small and easy to ignore started to widen, and suddenly, I found myself questioning the foundation of our relationship. It wasn't anything overt at first, just subtle shifts. Little things that seemed unimportant at the time but now feel like red flags. She began to cancel plans last minute. Her texts became less frequent, and the intimacy we once shared seemed to slowly fade away. Whenever I brought it up, she brushed it off, telling me I was being paranoid. But the feeling of distance only grew stronger. One evening, after a particularly awkward dinner, I suggested we go away for the weekend, just the two of us. A chance to reconnect. I thought it might help us get back to where we once were, the fun and carefree moments we shared when we first started dating. To my surprise, Olivia agreed enthusiastically, almost too enthusiastically. As if she had been waiting for me to suggest it, we booked a cabin in the mountains, isolated, peaceful, perfect for getting away from the distractions of everyday life. The weekend came and we drove out of the city, the snow falling gently around us as we climbed higher up into the mountains. The air was crisp, the world quiet except for the crunch of tires on snow. For the first time in weeks, I thought we might actually have a chance to fix things. The first night was awkward, but not in the way I feared. We made small talk, cooked a simple meal, and went to bed early, hoping that sleep would help clear the tension between us. But as I lay there, listening to the sound of her breathing beside me, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The space between us and the bed felt bigger than it ever had before, even though she was lying right next to me. Then, as if on cue, Olivia turned toward me, her face illuminated by the dim moonlight streaming through the window. She moved closer, resting her head on my chest. I froze for a moment, unsure of what to do. Her actions didn't match the emotional distance I had been feeling for weeks, but in that moment, I allowed myself to hope. Maybe we were on the verge of something real again, something that could bring us back to what we had. I wrapped my arms around her, and for a while, everything felt normal. Her body pressed against mine, the familiar scent of her hair, the warmth of her touch. But in the back of my mind, the nagging feeling remained. It was fleeting, though drowned out by the warmth of the bed and the closeness we shared. As we kissed, I felt a flicker of what I thought was love. But now I realized it was just a facade, something I clung to because I didn't want to face the truth. The next morning, things seemed different. We woke up and for a moment, it felt like the night before had worked its magic. We were closer, at least outwardly, than we had been in weeks. But there was an odd tension between us, something unspoken, and Olivia seemed distant. Even though she had been so affectionate the night before, we spent the day hiking through the snow, the crisp mountain air clearing my mind, but not Olivia's. She seemed distracted, lost in her thoughts. I asked her what was on her mind, and she gave me the same answer she always did. Nothing, just tired. But I knew it wasn't just tiredness. There was something more, something she wasn't telling me. By the time evening came, I felt the weight of her silence pressing on me. We were back in the cabin, sitting in front of the fire, and I decided it was time to confront her. I needed to know what was going on, why she'd been so distant, why she had pulled away when we were supposed to be fixing things. "Olivia, what's going on?" I asked, my voice softer than I intended, though I couldn't hide the desperation in my tone. "You've been so distant lately. You seem like you're somewhere else." She sighed and leaned back on the couch, staring into the fire. "I told you it's nothing." I'm just going through a lot right now. A lot of what? I pressed, my patience starting to wear thin. I've been here for you. I want to be here for you. But you're not letting me in. She turned to face me, her eyes tired, almost resigned. It's just work, okay? I've been busy with things, and I just needed space. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I swallowed hard, feeling like I was losing her even though she was sitting right next to me. But I let it go, or at least I tried to. We spent the rest of the evening in silence, the air thick with unspoken words. I went to bed that night still feeling uneasy, but trying to convince myself that we would work through it. The next morning, I woke up alone. Olivia was already up and moving around the cabin, the sound of her footsteps echoing through the quiet space. She didn't seem like herself, more distracted than ever. I sat up, rubbing my eyes, and decided to let it go for now. We had a few more hours to spend together before we had to leave, but when I went to the kitchen to make coffee, I found something that changed everything. Her phone was on the counter, the screen cracked slightly, but still readable. I didn't mean to snoop by. Really didn't, but something inside me told me I needed to know. So, against my better judgment, I picked it up. The text messages were what hit me first. Messages from a number I didn't recognize, full of flirtatious banter. They were recent too, just the night before, after we'd gone to bed. My heart raced as I scrolled through the conversation. The messages were intimate, full of inside jokes and references that made it clear they'd been talking for a while. The words weren't just friendly, they were deeply personal. It wasn't just a friend. I couldn't breathe. My hand shook as I set the phone down on the counter. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. Olivia had been seeing someone else. It wasn't an affair, not yet, but the emotional betrayal was enough to shatter everything. My mind raced as I pieced together the timeline. The distance she'd shown me, the late nights, the excuses, it all made sense now. I wasn't imagining it. She had been lying to me. I waited until she came back into the kitchen, trying to calm myself. She had no idea that I knew. She smiled when she saw me, but I couldn't return it. My heart felt heavy in my chest, my body frozen with disbelief. Olivia, I said, my voice trembling, who's the person you've been texting? Her face faltered for a split second, but she recovered quickly, offering me a strained smile. What are you talking about? The person you've been texting? I repeated, my voice hardening. The one who's been sending you those messages, don't lie to me? She stood there, her eyes widening with panic. And then she lied. It's nothing, just a friend from work. You're overreacting, but I knew better. Her eyes told me everything. The guilt was written all over her face, in the way she avoided my gaze, in the hesitation in her voice. I could feel the truth slipping through her fingers, but she was still trying to hold on to the lie. Don't lie to me, I said quietly, the anger starting to simmer beneath the surface. You've been seeing someone else, haven't you? She hesitated, but the silence said everything. I could see the shame in her eyes, the realization that she couldn't hide anymore. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said, her voice barely. A whisper. It just ... it just did. I felt like the world had cracked open beneath me. The woman I had trusted, the one I had helped would be my future, had betrayed me. I couldn't comprehend it. The pain was almost physical, a sharp ache in my chest that made it hard to breathe. We stood there in silence for what felt like an eternity. Olivia opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The truth hung in the air between us, thick and suffocating. I didn't know what to say next. The life we had built together felt like a lie now. Every moment, every smile, every I love you felt meaningless. The bed we had shared, the warmth we had shared, it all felt so hollow now. I think we're done, I said finally, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. I can't do this anymore. And just like that, everything changed. The love, the trust, the future, it all evaporated in an instant. Olivia stood there, her eyes wide. with disbelief, but I was already walking away. I had shared a bed with her, but now I realized I had been sharing a lie. The truth was now clear, and the bed I had once shared with her would always be a reminder of the betrayal. I walked away from her that morning, my heart heavy with the weight of what had just transpired. The silence in the cabin was deafening, as if the world outside had disappeared and left me alone in this place, stranded between the truth and the lie. I couldn't believe I was standing there, feeling so broken by someone I had loved so deeply. Olivia's voice called after me, but I didn't turn around. I couldn't face her. Not now, not after everything. The questions, the lies, everything. About that moment felt like it had shattered something inside me, something I wasn't sure I could put back together. I headed outside into the snow, needing to clear my head, needing space. The cold air hit me like a slap, and I breathed in, deeply, trying to calm myself. But no matter how much I tried to focus on the quiet beauty of the snow-covered mountains, my mind kept circling back to the same thing. Olivia had lied to me. She'd been seeing someone else, someone I didn't even know existed until now. The trust I'd given her, the years we had spent together, how could I have been so blind? How could I have let her pull the wool over my eyes for so long? I kept walking, my footsteps crunching in the snow, each step feeling like a mile. I wanted to scream, but the cold had frozen the words in my throat. I wanted to break down too. Cried to feel something other than this numb, aching emptiness, but I couldn't. I was so angry. I was so betrayed that all I could do was keep moving, trying to outrun the heartbreak that was slowly consuming me. After a while, I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't have to turn around to know it was Olivia. She had followed me, like I knew she would. The sound of her approach felt like a distant echo, her footsteps tentative and unsure. I didn't want to hear her voice anymore, but I knew she was going to try to explain herself. She had to try, didn't she? "Can we talk?" she asked softly, her voice trembling in the cold. I stopped walking but didn't turn around. What's there to talk about? My voice was raw, sharp, and I hated myself for sounding so bitter. But I couldn't help it. She had betrayed me. In the worst possible way. "I know I messed up," she continued, her voice breaking. "But please, let me explain." I turned to face her, my gaze cold and distant. Her eyes were filled with regret, but that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to undo what had happened. The damage had been done. The trust was broken beyond repair. Explain? I repeated, laughing bitterly. What is there to explain? You were seeing someone else behind my back. I don't need an explanation, Olivia. I need to understand how you could do this to me. How you could lie to my face. How you could stand next to me every day, pretending everything was fine when you were with someone else. Her eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't feel any sympathy. She had cried before when things got tough between us, but those tears never seemed to change anything. They didn't stop her from lying, from distancing herself, from betraying me, so why should I care now? "I never meant to hurt you," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't want this to happen. It was a mistake. It was just one mistake, one moment of weakness, and I'm so sorry." I clenched my fists at my sides, struggling to contain the fury that was bubbling inside me. A mistake? I scoffed. One mistake? Olivia, you don't just make a mistake like that. You don't just fall into bed with someone else. Especially not when you're supposed to be in a committed relationship. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. And you made it? She stepped closer, but I took a step back, not wanting her anywhere near. "Please," she begged, her voice desperate now. I was confused. Things weren't the same between us anymore. We drifted apart and I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to tell you I was feeling lost. I made the wrong choice. I made the wrong decision. "You're right about one thing," I said, my voice cold, every word slicing through the tension between us. "You made a decision, and that decision was to betray me. You don't get to come back from that, Olivia. Not after everything we've been through." Her face crumpled and she reached out for me, but I recoiled. I couldn't stand to be touched by her right now. I couldn't stand the thought of her being so close to me when I knew the truth. Her touch felt like a lie, like everything she had ever told me had been hollow. I never meant to fall in love with him, she whispered, as though the words were a confession. But I did, and I don't know how to fix it, but I want to try. I want to fix this. I stared at her, my heart pounding in my chest. The words hung in the air like smoke, curling around me, suffocating me. You're asking me to forgive. You? I asked, my voice hoarse. You're asking me to just forget what you did and start over as if none of this matters? Olivia didn't answer, just stared at me, her face filled with sorrow and guilt. She had no answer, because how could she? How could she justify what she had done? The wind picked up, the snow swirling around us, but I didn't feel the cold. I was numb, lost in the whirlwind of my emotions. I didn't know what I wanted from this moment. Part of me wanted to scream at her to make her feel the pain she had caused. Another part of me just wanted to walk away and never look back, to escape the devastation that she had brought into my life. I can't do this anymore. Olivia, I said, my voice firm, even though every part of me wanted to collapse. I can't keep pretending that everything's fine when I know it's not. I trusted you, and you broke that trust. I don't know how to come back from this. She stood there silent as the snow fell softly around us. I didn't know if she understood, if she even cared anymore. But it didn't matter. What mattered now was that I couldn't keep living a lie. I couldn't keep hoping for something that wasn't there. I need to go, I said, my throat tight, my words barely escaping. I need to get away from this, from you. I need space to figure out who I am without you in my life. She looked at me with pleading eyes, but I couldn't stay, not for her, not for anyone. I turned and walked away from her, each step feeling heavier than the last, as though I was leaving behind everything that had once mattered to me. I didn't know where I was going, but I couldn't stay there any longer. The relationship, the lies, the betrayal, they had already destroyed too much dot as I walked into the snowy landscape. The cold finally hit me, but I didn't feel it. My heart was already frozen. There was no going back now. Olivia and I were done. She'd shared a bed with me, but in the end, it wasn't me she'd been lying to. It was herself, and I was done lying to myself too. The truth was finally clear. We were both living a lie, Dot, as I walked away from Olivia. The sting of the betrayal burned through me with every step I took. My mind was spinning, trying to process everything I had just learned, everything I had just felt. The cold air bit at my skin, but it didn't matter. My body felt numb. The snow underfoot crunched with each step, a harsh reminder that the world around me was still moving. Even though my entire world had just crumbled, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't care. I just needed to escape, to be alone with my thoughts. My chest ached as I replayed the scene in my mind, the look on Olivia's face, the desperation in her voice, her tears. Part of me wanted to feel pity for her, but the other part of me just wanted to rage at her for everything she had taken from me. She had betrayed my trust in the most painful way possible, and no amount of regret or apologies could undo that. I walked aimlessly, trying to outrun the chaos in my head, trying to drown out the questions that kept creeping in. Had I missed the signs? Had I been so blind to everything around me that I let this happen? How could she do this to me? How could she be the person I thought I could rely on, the person I trusted with my heart, only to betray me with someone else? As I walked deeper into the woods, the quiet surrounded me. The stillness of the snow-covered trees felt comforting, like the world had paused, allowing me a brief moment to collect myself. I paused, taking a deep breath, hoping it would clear the fog in my mind, but nothing helped. The image of Olivia's face, her admission of what she'd done, was burned into my memory. I pulled my phone from my pocket, and for the first time since I had left the cabin, I checked the messages. There were a few from Olivia, each one increasingly desperate, each one trying to explain herself, to apologize. I couldn't bring myself to read them. Instead, I scrolled past them and clicked on the text message from my best friend, Mark. I needed someone to talk to, someone who could help me make sense of this mess, someone who didn't know Olivia, and who could give me an unbiased perspective. I quickly typed out a message. I need to talk. Can you call me? Within seconds, my phone rang. It was Mark. I answered, unable to hold back the tears that had begun to form. Hey, man, what's going on? Mark asked, his voice laced with concern. I don't even know where to start, I said, my voice shaky. I found out something about Olivia. She's been seeing someone else, behind my back, for weeks. And I didn't even know. I thought everything was fine. Mark was silent for a moment, letting me talk. Man, I'm so sorry to hear that. What happened? I let out a shaky breath. I don't know. We went to this cabin in the mountains for the weekend, thinking we could fix things, you know? But when we got there, she admitted it. She told me everything. She was seeing someone else. And I can't just pretend that it's okay. Jesus, Mark muttered. That's rough, man. I'm so sorry. I stopped walking for a moment, leaning against a tree, trying to steady myself. I don't even know what to do. I'm so angry, but I still care about her. I don't know how I feel about her anymore. I don't know if I can forgive her. Mark's voice softened. It's okay to be confused, man. It's a huge betrayal. But you've got to take care of yourself now. Don't let her make you feel like you're the one who's wrong for being hurt. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. I wasn't sure if I could forgive her either. My heart felt torn, ripped in two by the weight of everything that had happened. I thought we were happy. I thought she was the one. But now it seemed like everything had been a lie. How could I ever trust her again? I just need to be alone for a while, I said, wiping my eyes. I don't even know if I should go back to the cabin. I don't know if I want to see her again. You don't have to go back, man. Take some time for yourself. Go somewhere. Clear your head. You don't need to deal with that right now, Mark said. And when you're ready, we can talk more. But you've got to focus on you right now. I know, I said quietly. Thanks, man. I don't know what I'd do without you right now. Anytime, dude. You're not alone in this. I've got your back. We ended the call, and I stood there for a while, lost in my thoughts. It felt good to hear Mark's voice, to have someone who wasn't wrapped up in the chaos of my relationship. With Olivia, I wasn't alone, not completely. But I still had so many questions, so many doubts. And I wasn't sure how to fix what had been broken. Eventually, I turned around and walked back to the cabin. I didn't know what I was expecting when I got there, but I couldn't leave things unresolved. I had to face Olivia, even if I wasn't ready. Even if I wasn't sure I could look at her the same way again. When I entered the cabin, she was sitting on the couch, her hands clasped together in her lap. She looked up when I walked in, her face pale, eyes red from crying. She opened her mouth to say something, but I held up my hand to stop her. Don't, I said, my voice firm. I don't want to hear any more excuses, Olivia. I don't know if I can even look at you right now, let alone talk to you. You lied to me. You betrayed me. I'm so sorry, she whispered, her voice trembling. I never meant to hurt you. I don't know. I felt lost and I made a mistake. A mistake, I repeated, my anger rising. This wasn't a mistake, Olivia. This was a choice. You chose to betray me. You chose to lie. You didn't just make a mistake. She flinched, but I couldn't stop now. I was done holding it in. I trusted you, I continued, my voice thick with emotion. I thought you were the one I could rely on. But now, I don't even know who you are anymore. You're not the person I thought you were. Her face crumpled and she started crying again, her shoulders shaking with the weight of her guilt. I don't know how to make it right, she sobbed. I've ruined everything, haven't I? I looked at her, my heart aching, but there was no going back. The trust we had once shared was gone. And as much as I wished I could forgive her, I knew that the damage was too deep, too irreversible. I don't know what happens next, I said quietly, but I need space. I need time to figure out who I am without you, without the lies. Olivia nodded, tears streaming down her face. She didn't say anything else, and I didn't say anything more. I turned and walked away from her, away from the life we had shared. It was overdawn as I stepped outside into the snow. I realized something. It wasn't just Olivia who had been lost in the mess of lies. I had been too. I had been lost in the illusion of love and the belief that everything was okay. But now I could see the truth clearly. The road ahead was uncertain, but I knew one thing for sure. I had to rebuild myself without her, without the lies. And maybe, just maybe, I'd find a way to trust again. But that would take time. And for now, all I needed was space to heal.